think we're all good to go, team. Let's get cracking. Let's start with the content. So, we are going to be covering nutrition and mental well-being. I'm going to be talking to you about the foods that boost your mood. I'm going to talk to you about foods that make you happy, foods that make you sad, and which foods give you anxiety. So you're going to be learning loads. I've got loads of effective ways to stop. That means, sorry, I've just quickly to top negative thoughts. That basically means to stop negative thoughts. And then I'm going to talk to you about nutrients and supplements for mental clarity and mental well-being. And then, like I said, at the end, we're going to do a Q&A. So I hope that sounds good. I will be asking you lots of questions. Head over to the chat box. We're going to make this as interactive as engaging as possible. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rosie, and basically I specialize in burnout and mental well-being. And that is because nearly 9 years ago, I was basically walking in the park on March the 6th, 2014, felt really, really dizzy and basically collapsed to the ground. And I freaked out because nothing like that had ever happened to me before. So I basically went home, climbed into bed, and stayed there for 3 years straight. And I was completely paralyzed with exhaustion. I couldn't work, couldn't exercise, couldn't socialize. I remember at my worst, I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. So I did what anybody would do in that situation. I took myself off to the doctors to get some bloods done. And they just said I was depressed. There was nothing wrong with me, that I was just depressed. Here are some antidepressants. So I went home, climbed into bed, and basically slept and I slept and I slept. And no amount of sleep was making me feel any better. So I basically did a ton of reading, loads of research. I ran loads of tests on myself. I went to see every other health practitioner going, and eventually I got diagnosed with severe burnout. So you're probably wondering, what was I doing that day before I collapsed in the park? Well, to be honest with you, I missed all the warning signs. I missed all the red flags. I said yes to everything. I was working at the speed of light. I thought I was Superwoman. I was working like a freight train. And there was so much stress going on in my life. And I missed all the signs. You know, there was one stress that didn't go away, then another one, then another one. I wasn't sleeping properly, wasn't eating properly. I was probably over exercising. And then boom, that was it. There was one thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, and that was it. I was in bed. So, being in bed for 3 years on your own was a very dark place. My mental well-being went out the window. I didn't want to be alive anymore. I did think about taking my life because waking up every single day with no energy sucked. Burnout sucks, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It took me 4 years to get back on my feet. I'm 100% recovered today, which is why I do all of these sessions, guys, which is why I teach people, how not to burn out, how to deal with mental illness, and how to turn their lives back around. I've been lucky enough to be on Sky News to talk about the burnout battle. I've written a book called Burnout's a Bitch, which is basically your recovery to getting back on your feet. And I've written a ton of articles which basically share how not to burn out and how to get back on your feet. So we're all here. I really hope that there's one thing that you might change, guys, after this session. So let's get going. I actually want to ask you guys some questions. I want to do a little bit of a sort of see where you guys are at. So raise your hand, guys, or pop a yes in the chat box if you think that your mental well-being is suffering at the moment. So just head over to the chat box there, guys. Pop a yes in the chat box. Wave at me, whatever you want. Just share with me if you think that your mental well-being is suffering at the moment. And then, we know that levels of anxiety and depression have increased since the pandemic. So I'd love to know if, your levels of anxiety or depression have increased. Just put up a yes in the chat box there, guys. If you think that your anxiety has increased or that you feel like your depression has increased. So we've got Mark says yes, Joanna says yes, comes and goes. Malika says yes. Fermisk says yes. Okay, so quite a few of you. Elizabeth says yes. Okay, great. And who thinks that they have those negative thoughts at night time? So where, you're lying in bed at night and you're trying to sleep, but you're sort of tired and wired. So your negative thoughts go round and round and round and you can't get to sleep. Just again, head over to the chat box there, guys. Let me know if that's you. Raise your hand, pop a yes in the chat box. Yeah. And does anybody feel like, they're just feeling a bit lost and they're going through the motions at the moment and they're having mood swings or, they're just feeling a bit flat all day, every day? Is that you guys? Just head over to the chat box there. Fortunately, no. Okay, great. Somebody's saying yes. Awesome. And, the good news is that there's a lot you can do with nutrition and mental well-being. So I want to share with you some of the things that we can do nutritionally um, in order to make ourselves feel more mentally strong and mentally resilient. So what you eat massively dictates how you think, feel, and behave. And making the right food choices can make you feel emotionally stronger, and it can lift your self-esteem. So I've got some tips here, guys, that I think, I want to share with you that basically help you to increase your mental well-being and support you mentally. And the number one thing we can do to increase our mental resilience and to reduce negative thoughts and boost our mood is to manage insulin. Now, you've probably heard of insulin before, but it's all about balancing our blood sugar levels. Now, balancing blood sugar levels is key to maintaining energy, mood, and cognitive function. So, we all know that when we eat something sugary, our blood glucose rises and it causes a hormone called insulin. Now, insulin's role is to take that sugar out of the bloodstream and pack it into the cells so that you can utilize it for energy, okay? But we know that when we have something really sugary in the morning or something really sugary, whatever time of day. So let's say, for example, you had a bottle of Lucozade. We know that a bottle of Lucozade is really high in sugar. It's actually got 21 teaspoons of sugar in there. So that's going to give us a surge of sugar. So whenever we have a surge of sugar, we also have a surge of insulin. And insulin is the hormone that basically is responsible for taking that sugar out of the bloodstream and packing it into the cells so that you guys can utilize it for energy, okay? So, but we know that when we have a sugar hit, it often comes with a sugar high and then a crash. And we've all been there. We've all experienced a sugar high and we get that superficial energy. We get that initial rush of sugar. But depending on how much sugar that we've eaten, either in one sitting or throughout the day, invariably we're going to have that crash. Because when we have, when there's too much sugar in the bloodstream, insulin works in overtime. And essentially, it can't take that sugar out of the bloodstream quick enough, and we have that crash. And so we know that sugar wreaks havoc with our blood sugar levels, and I call it a blood sugar roller coaster. So we have, let's say we start our day with a bowl of sugar, and we have that high and then that crash. So it's that roller coaster effect. And then mid-morning, depending on what we've had the meal before, we have that blood glucose high and then that crash. Because most typically people are eating coffee, sugar, biscuits, Kit Kat mid-morning, but that just perpetuates that blood sugar roller coaster, that blood sugar high and then that crash. We know that sugar massively affects anxiety levels. It can actually trigger an anxiety. And we know that it's the number one thing in the body that causes inflammation. And when we see people with like depression and anxiety, typically they tend to have inflammation in the brain. So eating a diet high in sugar tends to make us feel more anxious and it wreaks havoc with our mood. So my top tip for you guys is to make sure that every single day, if you want to get a grip on your mental well-being, you've got to cut back on the sugar. We have to manage insulin, okay? So eating a diet high in fat and protein and low in sugar is going to be much more helpful in terms of managing our insulin response and our mood. Does that make sense, guys? So how do we do that? How do we make sure that we're eating, we're cutting back on sugar and that we're eating protein, high protein diet? So protein foods, we really want to make sure that we're eating more protein. And we want to make sure that we're eating, protein at breakfast, protein in our mid-morning snack, protein at lunch, protein mid-afternoon, and protein at dinner. So protein foods like chicken, fish, eggs, they actually contain an amino acid called tryptophan, and that gets converted into serotonin in the body, and that's a happy hormone. Does anybody know how much protein we need to eat every single day? So head over to the chat box, guys. Does anybody know how much protein we need to eat every single day? How do we work it out? How do we work out how much protein we need? Does anybody know? Oh, we've got a question. We've got a response here. Joanna says 30 grams. It's actually more than that, Joanna. So I'll share with you how you work it out. So you need a gram of protein per kilo of body weight. Okay. So if you weigh 60 kilos, you need 60 grams of protein per day. If you weigh 80 kilos, you need 80 grams of protein per day. Now, one egg doesn't give you a whole load of protein. It only gives you about 7 grams of protein. When we look at a chicken breast about that big, it doesn't give you 100 grams of chicken. So let's say that's a 30-gram chicken breast. It doesn't give you, sorry, 100-gram chicken breast doesn't give you about 100 grams of protein. It only gives you about 30. So you can see you've got to get that in around the clock, okay? Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. And if we can eat more protein and get protein in at every meal and snack, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to balance our blood sugar levels. And so we're going to have more of a stable mood. We're going to have much more sustainable energy. You'll have less dips and crashes, and you're going to have more tryptophan and the amino acid tryptophan and therefore serotonin in the body. So it's our best friend when it comes to mental well-being. So my top tip is to make sure that you're increasing your protein and that you're eating around the clock, managing your blood sugar levels and cutting back on the sugar. Okay. And you can easily work out how much protein you need per kilo of body weight. So that's my top tip. My next tip on, making sure that we've got, a strong mental resilience is to manage caffeine. So actually, I'd love to know how much caffeine you guys are eating. Does anybody want to share with me how many cups of coffee that they're drinking every single day? Just pop your numbers in the chat box there, guys. How many cups of coffee are you drinking? So we've got Becky says 3 to 4. Joanna says 2 to 3 cups a day. I mean, I'm okay with 1 to 2 cups of coffee per day, guys, but I'll tell you why. So caffeine behaves just like sugar in the bloodstream, right? So if we have if we have a cup of coffee in the morning, or let's say we have an espresso, which is like 2 shots, that caffeine acts like a stimulant, okay? And it will give us a surge, it will give us a superficial energy hit, but it behaves just like sugar in the bloodstream. So yes, you get that surge, but then you're going to have that crash. And caffeine actually increases cortisol levels in the bloodstream. It increases heart rate, blood pressure, and all of these things can worsen symptoms of anxiety. We know that studies suggest that too much caffeine can actually trigger anxiety, and too much can actually trigger a panic attack. So how do you know if you're drinking too much caffeine or you get the shakes? Does anybody get that jittery, shaky feeling? That's actually your liver telling you that you don't have enough enzymes to break down the caffeine in coffee. So I'm okay with 1 to 2 cups of coffee per day, but no more. And make sure you're not having it post mid-lunchtime. So I wouldn't have any caffeine after 2 o'clock. And that is because caffeine's got a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours. So if you're drinking a cup of coffee at 6 o'clock at night and you go to bed at 10 o'clock or even 11 or 12, 5 to 6 hours after that cup of coffee when you're trying to go to bed, half of that caffeine is still going to be in your bloodstream. And we know that caffeine negatively affects the production of melatonin. And melatonin is the hormone that is released from the pineal gland at the back of the brain in response to darkness. And that's when, and basically that hormone is responsible for making us fall asleep. So too much caffeine can make you feel jittery, trigger anxiety, and negatively affect the release of melatonin in the bloodstream. So it's a really profound chemical that we can control in terms of, supporting our mental well-being. Okay, I've got a question from Tanny. What about tea? Can you have several cups of tea all day long? Or is it different from coffee? Great question, Tanny. So tea has got about 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. A cup of normal tea has got about 50 milligrams of caffeine in. And a cup of green tea, guys, has got about 30 milligrams of caffeine. So choose your poison, choose your cup. We know that green tea, for example, whilst it only contains about 30 milligrams of caffeine in, it's got 3 times the amount of antioxidants in a cup of normal tea. And green tea contains an amino acid called L-theanine, which actually it actually gets converted into something called, it's basically an amino acid that gets converted into GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that stands for gamma aminobutyric acid. And this is the neurotransmitter that makes us feel calm and happy. So you might want to swap your caffeine, guys, for a little bit of green tea instead. So I hope that answers your question, Tanny. Great question. And if you are drinking, 5 cups of coffee a day, 10 cups of coffee a day, my advice is to cut it back and see if your anxiety it gets better. See if your mood improves. See if your energy improves. I recommend that when I see patients who are burnt out, I highly recommend that they cut caffeine out completely, because what caffeine does, if you are burnt out, if you are, some of the red flags of burnout, guys, are you dragging yourself through the day, you wake up in the morning, even after a good night's sleep, and you still feel tired, you've lost your drive and your motivation, you find small tasks challenging, and you get dizzy. So if that is your constituency right now, these are the red flags of burnout, then my advice is to cut out caffeine completely, because caffeine whips the adrenal glands. It temporarily gives it a fix and that lift, but over the long run, it makes you feel even more tired. So that's my spiel on coffee. You can go for the alternatives, and I've got those coming up a bit later. So yeah, it might be that you take a bit of a caffeine break to improve your mental stability. Good. So what else can we do, guys? So eating the right fats is absolutely critical for mental well-being. I don't know if you know this, but your brain is actually 70% fat. And the quality of the fat that you eat from your diet literally determines the quality of the fat that you eat from your brain. So it's like for like. And the kind of fats that I'm talking about here are the omega-3 and the 6 fatty acids. So things like oily fish, nuts, seeds, avocados. We need to eat these on a daily basis. Raise your hand or pop a yes in the chat box if you are eating healthy fats every single day. I'd love to know, guys, and let me know what kind of fats that you're eating. We know that omega-3 fatty acids like oily fish, nuts, seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, salmon, mackerel, these foods help to reduce inflammation in the body. So if you've got any inflammatory condition like arthritis, irritable bowel syndrome, IBD, which stands for irritable bowel syndrome, eczema, psoriasis, all of these are inflammation of the skin. So we want to make sure that we're eating anti-inflammatory diet and anti-inflammatory foods, and that's things like oily fish, nuts, seeds, avocados. So we've got some questions here. Oh, Elizabeth's eating avocados and smoked salmon. Becky's making porridge with seeds and nuts and lots of grains. Have that Monday, Friday. Wicked. We've got a question here from, hang on, I think I've got a question from Mike. What if we have coffee, tea while eating food? Does it absorb differently? Great question. So Mike, there's something called bulletproof coffee, where if you add coconut oil into your coffee, it buffers that caffeine climb, and it's sort of, it does absorb the coffee a little bit more, not as aggressively. So it's called bullet coffee. Happy for you to have that. And it does absorb it differently. So yeah, great question. So we want to make sure that we're eating healthy fats, team, every single day. They're called essential fatty acids because your body doesn't make them, right? That is why we have to eat them. And the same thing with the essential amino acids, the proteins. They're called essential amino acids because your body doesn't make them. That's why we have to eat them. And, things like turkey, chicken, not only do they create serotonin, but they also contain something called tyrosine, which is another amino acid, and that actually gets converted into dopamine. And dopamine is the pleasure hormone. So we want to make sure that we're getting protein in at every minute snack, healthy fats every single day, minimizing the sugar, minimizing refined carbohydrates, and you will feel better, I promise you. So what else do we want to do, team? We've got to make sure that we're cutting back on alcohol. Alcohol is literally poison for the energy cells in your body. So in every single cell in your body, you've got a round cell, there's a mitochondria inside that cell, which basically is a factory. And that is a factory for producing ATP, and that stands for adenosine triphosphate. That is what your body runs on for energy. And when you drink alcohol, it's literally poison for that energy molecule. So it's kind of like when you have a car and it runs on diesel or petrol, that's an energy molecule. That's the supply of energy that the fuel, if you like, that the car runs on. It's the same with our cells. When we eat glucose or when we eat food, carbohydrates, glucose is used to manufacture ATP. But when we drink alcohol, that ATP is literally poison and it's damaged. And another cool thing about ATP, that it actually has to be bound to a molecule of magnesium in order for that ATP to be active. And we know that 50% of the population are actually deficient in magnesium. So, if you're struggling with magnesium, if you're struggling with energy, it might be that the ATP doesn't have magnesium to be active. So it might be that you increase your magnesium to have better energy production. What else about alcohol? So research has shown that regular excessive alcohol consumption can actually alter the chemistry in the brain, and it actually massively affects serotonin. So they always say that alcohol is happiness borrowed from tomorrow. It actually lowers levels of serotonin in the bloodstream the next day. So please drink sensibly. Maybe you want to start doing, cutting back on alcohol and seeing if that improves your mood. It really affects your mood. It's literally the number one thing that lowers your mood the next day. So it might be that you cut out alcohol for the next 3 weeks. I just did a whole no alcohol thing for 3 weeks because I needed my productive edge and my competitive edge for Go Mental, which is the mental wellbeing festival that I'm launching in October. And the mental clarity I had back in return was profound. I also cut back on sugar. I took loads of nootropics, which are things that really enhance cognitive function. And I'm going to share those with you in a bit, guys, shortly. So what else can we do with our diet team that helps to, positively affect our mental well-being? So I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to nutrition and mental well-being, and I've done a lot of research on the ketogenic diet. So has anybody actually done the ketogenic diet? Does anybody know? How do I come back out of this? Right. So raise your hand, guys, or just pop a yes in the chat box if you've tried the ketogenic diet. Anybody? Just pop a yes there. Never. Okay. It's really fascinating stuff. Not many of you have done it. Okay, great. So let me just share with you what the ketogenic diet is. So the ketogenic diet, for those of you that don't know, it's basically where you significantly cut back on carbohydrates and sugary foods, and in favor, you ingest more fats, right? And what happens is when you eat only fats, your liver basically converts that fat into energy. It's called ketones. That's the energy molecule. So instead of running on glucose and your body converting that glucose into ATP, you're eating fats, and the liver is converting those fats into ketones. And it's called being in a state of ketosis. So I kind of liken it to, you've got your Ferrari, and your Ferrari, it eats sort of sugar, aka diesel, and it runs on that diesel. It's kind of like dirty energy. But then you've got a Tesla, which is like an electronic car, and you feed it fats. And that clean energy is burning. It's burning into ketones, and that Tesla is running on ketones. Does that make sense? So it's basically choosing to run on glucose or choosing to run on fats. So fascinating research has suggested that ketogenic diets benefit a number of mental health conditions such as depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and dementia. And this study here in 2017, quite recent, they basically hypothesized that being in a state of ketosis has shown to increase the neurotransmitter in the brain called GABA. And studies show that a good balance of GABA, this is the gamma-aminobutyric acid, guys, this leads to better mental focus, reduced stress and anxiety. And it's actually helped to bring down anti-seizure effects in people with schizophrenia. So I just thought that was fascinating. I did want to share it with you. I've also been listening to loads of podcasts, and all these doctors in the States have sort of, they use ketogenic diets on their bipolar and schizophrenic patients. And there was this one lady who she had schizophrenia for 30 years, and doctors put her on a ketogenic diet, and she's been in remission now for 30 years. And I just think it's profound. And so why is the ketogenic diet so effective? So again, it's all about the energy fuel that your body is relying on. So although, and again, I just wanted to put this in there, guys, because this is another, lots of reviews. I've basically suggested that depression is now just inflammation of the brain. And several studies indicate that only 25% of depressed patients have low levels of serotonin. And so, it's quite old school thinking that depression is just low serotonin. That's actually not the case now. And new studies have emerged that actually only 25% of these patients have low serotonin. What they think now is that depression is inflammation of the brain, and that everybody who has depression has got inflammation. And they think now that depression is just a symptom of inflammation. So it's really interesting, these new papers that are coming out. So that's my spiel on, it's just interesting to see what we can do with the diet to make us more mentally resilient. Oh, and just a little case history for you. My twin sister was diagnosed with depression about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, just before COVID. And which is kind of one of the reasons why I did so much research on depression and diets. So I did all this research on the ketogenic diet, and I was absolutely convinced that if I put my twin sister on a ketogenic diet, her symptoms would resolve. She also suffered from extreme dizziness and grogginess and was just like really out of it. So lo and behold, we both went on this ketogenic diet together for 10 days, and she literally felt so much better. She lost weight and she didn't have one episode of dizziness or grogginess in that 10-day period. And I was just blown away. And I do this with my patients. I don't put them on a very strict ketogenic diet because it's very hard to follow. But I just wanted to share with you how profound and how illuminating and how expansive the diet can be when it comes to mental well-being. So let's go on to foods that make you happy. I've got a list here of foods that make you happy. Bananas. I love bananas. Everybody knows that bananas are full of potassium. And potassium is brilliant. It's literally the minerals responsible for lifting us. They're also a great source of B9, which has been linked to, if you've got low B9, it's been linked to having depression. Salmon, so omega-3 fats, is anti-inflammatory. It's basically down to the two components inside omega-3 fats, which are EPA and DHA. And these really help with mood disorders, including depression. I'm okay with you guys having a little bit of chocky, but I'm not talking about Mars bars or Milky Ways. I'm talking about dark chocolate. It's actually got an amino acid in it called phenylalanine, which is a brilliant amino acid that gets converted into the happy hormone. Green tea. I talked about how green tea basically helps us to lift us. It's got 3 times the amounts of antioxidants than normal tea. And beans, so things like kidney beans, chickpeas, black beans. They are a brilliant source of magnesium. They are a great source of B vitamins, brilliant for digestion and fiber and that sort of thing. So these are the things that give you energy. And probiotics. Wow, I love these guys. So probiotics are the friendly bacteria that reside in our gut. Does anybody take friendly bacteria at the moment? Just pop a yes in the chat box there, guys, if you take probiotics. We've got Joanna says yes. Elizabeth says yes. Brilliant, love it. Got a few raised hands here, amazing. So why do we love probiotics? Who else? Louise, yes, when I can remember. Becky says once a year in spring. Becky, you can do it more than that. So why do we love probiotics? What do they do with our mood? So probiotics, they are the friendly bacteria living in our intestines, and they basically populate the gut. And you can get them from supplements, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, what have you. And they literally make you happy. And that is because it's all down to the gut-brain connection team. So your brain is constantly communicating with your gut, and your gut is constantly communicating with the brain. And it's all down to the gut-brain axis. And the axis is basically kind of like an invisible line, or in this case, it's a nerve. It's called the vagus nerve, and it works in both directions. And that vagus nerve is channeling all that messaging between the two, right? So, we know that the gut flora communicates with the brain, and basically it is responsible for generating the neurotransmitters in our body that talk to the brain. So literally all of the trillions of microbes living in our gut, the serotonin, the dopamine, we know that basically 95% of the gut is made, 95% of our body's serotonin is made in the gut, 50% of the dopamine is made in the gut, and it's all down to the microbiome living in there. So, all of these microbiome basically make these neurotransmitters, and then we can have communication going on. So literally taking probiotics and looking after the gut makes you happy. So if you are feeling low, guys, if you suffer with depression, if you know anyone that's got low mood, take away the sugar, increase the protein, make sure you're getting healthy fats every single day, cut back on the caffeine and take a probiotic. And that's it. Case closed. Easy peasy. So let's just quickly recap on the foods that make you sad. So it's things like coffee, It spikes our blood sugar levels. It gives you the shakes. It can increase. It can wreak havoc with your mood. And your sleep. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. So there are caffeine alternatives, guys. You can do. There's coffee replacements like barley cup extra, Caro extra, dandelion coffee. You got things like rooibos tea, peppermint tea, nettle tea, camel tea. What the hell is camel tea? Sorry, it's the end of the day, and I've been back to back. Chamomile tea. So all of these things are much more calming. We want to try to avoid sugary foods and refined carbohydrates. So things like cakes, biscuits, white bread, all of the things that we love and all the things that we want to eat when we're stressed. These refined carbohydrates and processed foods, they are low in nutrients. They wreak havoc with your energy. They make us gain weight. They cause inflammation. They do not make us feel happy. So you want to minimize those guys, and we want to swap them. We want to swap them for the whole foods like brown rice, brown pasta, lentils, chickpeas, brown rice, because they've actually got their nutrients intact. They are much higher in vitamins and minerals, magnesium, fiber, vitamin C, B vitamins, all of which help to give us energy and make us feel happy, and making sure that we're not having too much alcohol. I think we talked about all these things. So foods that increase anxiety are sugar, caffeine, alcohol, soda, and energy drinks. And conversely, foods that help to reduce anxiety are the essential fats like almonds, nuts, Brazil nuts, avocados, oily fish. Dark green leafy vegetables are my fave, and that's because they are high in magnesium teams. So things like spinach, broccoli, kale, try to get these in every single day. By the way, I'm going to be sending you these slides so that you've got them. I'm also going to be sending you, I've got some healthy meal and snack ideas for you guys, but I've got a little treat for you at the end, which is a 21-day meal plan. And it's my new mental well-being meal plan. So everything in there is basically got Monday to Sunday, everything you need to eat Monday to Sunday with all of the recipes, all of the snacks, and all of the recipes basically designed to boost your mood and reduce anxiety. And these are the sort of things that are in there. Things like pita pockets with avocado and feta cheese. We've got things like egg muffins. We've got things like Greek pasta salad, salmon salads, glow bowls. All of these got beans, broccoli, fruits, slow release carbohydrates like brown rice pasta, things like this. And then we've got healthy snacks such as chocolate bliss balls. These are banana pancakes. So we've got energy bars over here. What else? Smoothies. I'm a massive fan of smoothies because they are super quick to make. You can make them as nutrient dense as possible and you can tailor them to your needs. So we've got things like strawberry protein smoothies, chocolate power protein smoothies, stuff like this. Would you guys eat these things at home? I think you guys would like to. Would that be good, guys, getting this menu, getting this meal plan with all these healthy snacks? It'd be good to know how you get on with that. You can basically download it in your own time and follow it in your own time. Brilliant. Okay, great. Becky, yes, it would be great. Yes, amazing. Awesome. So, snack ideas at home. I mean, we want to make sure that we're being prepared and we're getting organized. Protein smoothies, smashed eggs on oat cakes, protein bars, chopped fruits and nuts, celery and nut butter, sushi, edamame. All of these things, guys. I'm gonna send you these so you've got them. Wicked, amazing, brilliant. So let's talk a little bit about supplements that help to calm your mental, calm the mind, boost your mental well-being, increase clarity, these sorts of things. So for just full disclosure, guys, I'm going to make sure that you guys get my supplement cheat sheet. So I'm going to be talking about all these supplements and why to take them. But essentially what I want to do is send you my supplement cheat sheet at the end. So after this call, I'm going to send you the meal plan and the slides and the supplement cheat sheet. But it basically shares with you every single supplement that I like to take and why, which brand to recommend with a discount code. So it's easy for you. So yeah, I recommend everybody take, as a baseline, a probiotic every single day because they are brilliant for digestion, they're brilliant for your immune system, and they help to boost your mood. I'm a humongous fan of CBD, which stands for cannabidiol, right? Now, this is the chemical or the compound, if you like, that's found in the cannabis plant. and it's without the THC. Now, there's a lot of growing evidence to suggest that CBD helps to reduce anxiety in people with SAD, and also in people without anxiety disorders. So if you're suffering with anxiety, if you can't get to sleep at night, guys, if you've got loads of kind of negative thoughts going round and round, what CBD helps to do is to calm the mind and dissipate those thoughts. But you want to be making sure that you're taking about 300 to 600 milligrams per dose. I like to take it before I go to bed at night. I've got a tincture. I'm going to recommend a good brand for you. And you just take a little drop before you go to bed, 30 minutes, and it's excellent. I've given this to the most hardcore of insomniacs, and they've tried everything and it doesn't work. And they take CBD and they're just like, wow, it's amazing. So I'm going to recommend that to you guys. I love L-theanine. You can either drink green tea, you can take capsules with L-theanine. It's really good for helping to reduce stress and anxiety, and that is because it helps to increase levels of GABA, serotonin, and dopamine. And I'm a massive fan of magnesium. Magnesium helps to increase energy. It helps to dilate the blood vessels and let blood flow go through. Helps you to feel calm. If you've got any muscle twitches, guys, if you've got heart palpitations because you're really stressed, because a heart palpitation is a muscle twitch. If you've got, a restless leg syndrome, or you've got you've got face twitches, it's basically telling you that your body's deficient in magnesium. So highly recommend that. And you can also supplement adrenal support if you're feeling really overworked, stressed out, you're overwhelmed and you're burning out and you're just exhausted. I'm going to recommend things like, the reishi mushroom, cordyceps. What else do I like? Siberian ginseng and ashwagandha. These are like tonics for the adrenal glands that really support you in times of stress. And ashwagandha is probably my favorite. It's an adaptogenic herb which has been shown to literally reduce levels of cortisol in the bloodstream. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and a study found that if you take ashwagandha for 6 to 8 weeks, it helps to lower levels of cortisol in the bloodstream. So really good to support your adrenal glands. Good. So before we run on to questions, I just want to share with you one simple tip that you guys can do in order to reframe those negative thoughts. So if you are that kind of person that's got one thought that doesn't go away, or you're self-sabotaging, or if you've got that inner critic that's just going round and round and round, the best way to deal with negative thoughts is reframing. So reframing is a really simple technique where you can change the narrative in your mind. So the idea is to redefine that existing thought. And the only way you can really transcend from trauma or negative thoughts or something that was really bad that happened to you that's going round and round and round and round is to change the narrative. So I've got some examples for you here, guys. So let's say your negative thoughts are, I'm so lost. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just flat. I've got really low mood. I'm just going through the motions. Okay. I'm really lost. Don't know what I'm doing. You could change that negative thought into a positive thought and reframe it by just telling yourself, well, look, that is not the case. I'm not lost. I'm just unsure of the movement and the direction of where I'm going right now. And I'm just, I'm still in that learning and discovering journey, and imagine, let's say if you said to yourself, I'm a loser, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be here, or I'm not worthy, or I'm useless, or I'm an idiot, right? I haven't accomplished anything in my life. Imagine if you said that thought to your friend. Imagine if a friend was saying that to you. What would you do? Imagine if you were in a relationship with somebody that said that you were disgusting, or that you were a loser, or that you were useless, or you haven't accomplished anything. You basically tell them to clear off, didn't you? You would never say those things to your friend. And so it's kind of like, we got to reframe that. So if you are saying those things to yourself, it's kind of like instead of saying that, the positive thought would be, well, I have accomplished many things in my life. And a lot of them are still to come. So I just want you to start reflecting on your negative thoughts, be aware of them, and then change the narrative in your head. Awesome. So we're going to go on to questions in a minute, guys. I know that I'm hanging out. I think most of you know where I am and where I hang out on Instagram, but it's Miss Nutritionist guys there. I want to make sure that you guys are following me there, because I do have loads of events. In fact, actually, I want to talk about my event, Go Mental. I would love to invite you guys to Go Mental. It's the UK's first mental wellbeing festival, and it takes place 3 days before World Mental Health Day on October the 7th. I think some of you are already coming, but for those of you that aren't, I'd love to extend my invitation to you. And it takes place in Waterloo, kicks off at 10 a.m. We've got a major lineup for you guys. We've got Bradley Simmons, we've got Shivani Poo. She's just basically announced that she's going to be on our panel. We've got, who else? We've got Madeline Shaw, we've got Dr. Danny Gordon, we've got Heather Harts, and we've got all of my favorite food brands. So we've got Fresh Fitness Foods, we've got Simprove are going to be there, we've got Genova Diagnostics, we've got a CBD brand. So it's basically all my favorite people in one place. So wherever you are in your mental wellbeing journey, we've got you covered. We've got keynote speakers, inspirational talks, Q&A panels, food and mood demo, yoga, brand browsing. So if you're struggling with your anxiety, if you want to boost your mood, if you know anyone that's, got depression, then bring them along, grab a ticket, guys. Places are really going fast. And what I would love to do is I'm going to put the link here to get a ticket. But for everybody today, I'm going to give you a gift, which is, if you buy today, guys, there's an early bird price still on. There's a link there. But if you use my discount code, Rosie10, you get an extra 10% off. And I'm going to give you guys, for everyone that gets a ticket, I'm going to give you the 21-day mental wellbeing meal plan. You're going to get the discount, you'll get the ticket at a discounted price. And we're now giving everybody a goodie bag, which is worth over £100. So really hope you can join me, guys. I'd love to have you there. Spread the word. There's your link. There's a discount code. But it obviously expires in the next 24 hours. So grab a ticket today and I'll send you everything that you need. And that's it, team. So does anybody have any questions? If you've got any questions, team, where are we? Just, you can either unmute yourself or pop a question in the chat box there. We've got Louise. Oh, Louise has got a ticket. Yay. I know that Tanya's got a ticket already. Amazing. So has anyone got any questions? You can either pop it in the chat box there, guys, or unmute yourself. Everybody's being a bit quiet. Maybe you're all hungry. Any questions, team? Does anybody want to share with me what changes they might make? Any changes? Or did anybody have any? What did you learn? Were there any clinical pearls from this session? Anyone? Hello? We've got a question from Louise. How does decaf coffee compare to caffeine? Great question. So decaf coffee has had the caffeine removed. However, it might still have residues of caffeine in there because they basically use a chemical, Louise, to extract the caffeine from the coffee. So there will be chemical residues of the caffeine extractor in there, and there might be a little bit of caffeine in there. But if you are cutting back on caffeine, happy for you to cut back to use decaf as an interim. It is helpful just as you're sort of weaning yourself off the caffeine, off the coffee. But yeah, you can use that. Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, great. What else? I would love to go, but live too far away. Oh, shame, Peter. We might be doing some sort of live, tuning in live, because I've had so many people ask me if we can do if they can log in online and watch it that way. So stay tuned, Peter. I'll have that. I'm going to try and get that up and running for everybody. We've got a question from Mike. Fruit sugar versus refined sugar. Do we need to cut down on fruits? No, is the question. You might need to cut back down on the quantity of fruits that you're eating, Mike, because, fruit is 100% fructose. Anything ending in O's, OSE, fructose, glucose, maltose, lactose is a sugar. So if you're eating, I don't know, like a banana, handful of blueberries, some chopped mango, an apple, and then maybe some papaya, that's in one day, that's a lot of fructose, okay? And fructose will give you a surge of sugar, it'll raise your blood glucose, and insulin will be high in response. So obviously it contains the fiber and the vitamins and minerals, which is why we love it, and all the antioxidants. But it is still sugar. So we want to make sure that we're not having too much of it. Great question. Refined sugar, on the other hand, it's got no nutrients in it, no fiber, no vitamins and minerals, which the fruit obviously does offer. So definitely do the swap, but don't have too much of either of them, is what I'm trying to say. Great question. Okay, we've got a couple of questions coming in. Do I recommend collagen, says Sally? Yes, 100%. I love collagen. So as we age, after the age of about 20 to 25, collagen production starts to slow down or decline by about 1% every single year. 70% of our skin is actually made of collagen, and it's responsible for that sort of dewy elasticity, sort of plumpy, glowy complexion. So yes, take collagen every single day, Sally. Collagen is brilliant for the skin. It's excellent for the hair, the nails. It's brilliant for the digestive. If you're struggling with digestion, if anyone's got leaky gut or intestinal permeability or digestive complaints, collagen contains an amino acid called L-glutamine, which helps to close the holes in the gut lining. So I love collagen. It's really good for the brain as well. So yes. Elizabeth says, will you be sending the brands of supplements you recommend? Definitely. I'm going to be doing that right after this call. We've got another question here. Louise, is it bad to fast when you're feeling stressed? Yes. I wouldn't recommend fasting when you're stressed. Great question. Do not stress if you burn out. Sorry, my speech is really slowing down tonight. Do not fast if you are burnt out, team. And that is because when you're fasting, your blood glucose is dropping. So when your blood glucose drops too low after a long period of time, let's say you're fasting for like 8 hours in the day, your adrenal glands are going to go, oi, I need food. And it will pump adrenaline and cortisol into the bloodstream, mount a stress response, and cause more stress. So yeah, we do not want that. Fasting I love, but it's only for if you're strong at the moment, you don't have any energy issues, you don't have any burnout, and you don't have a history of eating disorders. It's a brilliant tool, but not for if you're those sorts of people. Okay, can I take collagen while pregnant? Yes. Which type of collagen is best? I'm going to send the links, guys. There's a few out there. My favorite one at the moment is Corexico, and I've got a discount code, so I'll send that all to you. Jolly good. All right, team. Well, we've gone over 45 mins. I think maybe we will round up shop. If anyone's got any other questions, I'm going to give you my email address. It's all here. inquiries@missnutritionist.com. Head over to Instagram. Give me a shout, guys. Spread the word about Go Mental. Make sure you get your discount code if you've not got a ticket already. Really hope to see you there. And thank you for joining me tonight. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to be doing more of these. And yeah, really good to speak to you, team. Thank you very much. And yeah, have a wonderful evening.